Over the last decade, something strange has happened in the global economy. The cheaper things get, the more money these companies make. Ultra low-cost retailers aren't just surviving, they're exploding. Take Shein. In 2015, it was a tiny Chinese e-commerce brand most people had never heard of. Today, it's valued between $45 and $66 billion, bigger than H&M and Zara combined. Its revenue jumped from $10 billion in 2020 to $30 billion in 2023, a tripling in just 3 years. And it did this selling clothes so cheap that entire outfits cost less than a single t-shirt from a traditional brand. Then there's Temu, the newest giant on the cheap everything economy. Launched in 2022, it reached 100 million US users in under a year, faster than TikTok. Analysts estimate Temu generated $18 billion in gross merchandise value in 2023, up from almost nothing the year before. That's not growth, that's detonation. Even Ryanair, the airline everyone loves to hate, has turned cheapness into a superpower. In 2023, Ryanair carried 183 million passengers, more than any airline in Europe, and more than any airline in the world except for one. Its profits hit $1.9 billion, the highest in its 38-year history. All while charging $9.99 for flights and then charging extra for, well, everything else. These companies don't win because they offer quality, comfort, or service. They win because they've mastered the economics of being cheap, and because we keep rewarding them for it. We all know the deal. The clothes fall apart after 3 washes. The customer service is a nightmare. The return process feels like a punishment. The flight costs $9.99, but the seat, the bag, the boarding pass, the oxygen you breathe all cost extra. And yet, we keep buying. Shein, Temu, Primark, Ryanair, companies that have built empires not on quality, not on service, not on brand loyalty, but on one thing alone: being cheap. But if cheap is all it is, then why do we keep falling for it? Welcome to Rebel Economics, where today we're breaking down the psychology and economics behind our obsession with cheap things, and why companies that offer the bare minimum keep winning. Let's start with the obvious. Price is the most powerful marketing tool in the world. A low price doesn't just attract customers, it rewires how we think. Behavioral economists call this price primacy. When the price is extremely low, it becomes the only thing we see. Everything else, quality, ethics, durability, customer service, fades into the background. Shein doesn't sell clothes. It sells the feeling of getting a bargain. Temu doesn't sell products. It sells the dopamine hit of, I can't believe this is so cheap. Ryanair doesn't sell flights. It sells the concept of travel for the price of a sandwich. These companies understand something fundamental about human psychology. We hate losing money more than we love gaining value. That is what is called loss aversion. Paying $40 for a t-shirt feels like a loss. Paying $4 feels like a win, even if the shirt only lasts a few wears, so you need to buy a new one a week later. You constantly sweat in it because it's made from cheap polyester, and the fit was never quite right to begin with. With all these points, it would just be reasonable to ask, then why buy it in the first place? And that is 100% related to the price tag. All of these flaws don't matter when the price is less than your daily latte order. A price of $4 is not actually $4, it's negligible, it just doesn't count. So you buy the shirt anyways, knowing full well that within a week you will buy its replacement. And when it does break, we can't even complain about it because what did you expect for $4? At the end of it, all of these replacements for this initial shirt might actually cost you more than the €40 shirt that you decided was too expensive in the beginning. But we rarely do that math, and even when we do, we rarely do it honestly. Because price is something objective, something you can compare fair and square. How comfortable you are in the shirt because of its better material or quality? Well, that's hard to quantify. How more often you will actually wear the more expensive shirt that you really like? Again, in the moment of purchase, that is not a calculation we make. Sure, the idea of cost per wear has increasingly become a term that we consider, but even that is hard to compete with when we compare a cheap item to one that is 10 times its price. And for some, that initial higher price tag might be fine. But sometimes the budget just doesn't permit for this larger purchase. This is what is called the poverty premium. When people have limited budgets, they are forced to buy the cheapest option, even if the cheapest option costs more in the long run. A $4 shirt that lasts a month is more expensive per wear than a $40 shirt that lasts you years. But if you don't have $40 today, the long-term math doesn't matter. You buy what you can afford now. And this is what companies like Shein, Temu, and Primark count on. They thrive because they serve a world where many people simply don't have the luxury of thinking long-term. And even if they do, they don't have the budget to act accordingly. Apart from that, there is the convenience illusion. Companies like Temu and Shein make shopping feel effortless. One click, one tap, one impulse. The friction is gone. The guilt is gone. The price is so low that the decision barely even registers. You don't think about whether you need it. You don't think about where it comes from or where it will end up. The price is so low that it feels like the consequences are so low. The mental drain of thinking about these things seems like a higher cost than the actual price tag of the item. So we just don't do it. We buy it because we think it could come in handy, because we like the color, because it seems like a good deal. The rest? Well, it doesn't really matter if the price is low enough. And companies know just how important the low price tag is. So they make sure that the first thing that you see is a low enough price to justify an impulse buy, even if additional fees are added later on. This is the real genius of how these companies hide the true cost. Ryanair's $9.99 flight is not $9.99. It's $9.99 plus 25 euros for a bag, another 20 euros to make sure you get a window seat and can post the obligatory out of the plane window photo on Instagram. Another 10 euros for flight insurance because among the million check marks that you have to place properly during the purchase, you placed one wrong. And 3 euros for the privilege of printing your own boarding pass. Oh yeah, and then you land at the airport that is secretly over an hour from the city that you actually wanted to fly to. Shein's $3 top is not $3. It's $3 plus environmental damage, plus labor exploitation, plus the cost of replacing it when it falls apart. Temu's $1 gadget is not $1, it's $1 plus data harvesting, plus shipping emissions, plus the cost of a product that may not work at all. These companies rely on price anchoring. They show you the lowest possible number first. Everything else feels optional, even when it isn't. The base price is the hook. The add-ons are the business model. So yes, these things being cheap or at least advertised at a very low price make a huge impact on our decision and whether we feel like it's worth to think about what we are actually purchasing. But beyond that, there's an uncomfortable truth. We don't just buy cheap things because they're cheap. We buy them because they let us feel rich. When everything is affordable, you can buy more clothes, more gadgets, more flights, more stuff. Consumption becomes a form of self-expression, a way to feel abundance in a world where everything else, housing, healthcare, education, feels increasing out of reach. When everything in life is so expensive, it is a refreshing oasis to go onto these websites and feel like you can shop till you drop. Anything you want, it's at your fingertips. Fast fashion and ultra-low-cost retailers sell that fantasy of unlimited choice. They let you reinvent yourself every week. They let you participate in trends instantly. They let you feel like you're keeping up even when the world is moving too fast. And that feeling is addictive. But there's another layer. The race to the bottom is not just driven by consumers. It's also driven by the competition. When one company offers ultra-low prices, everyone else is forced to follow. Primark changed the high street forever. Shein changed the entire fashion industry. Ryanair changed European aviation. Temu is now changing global e-commerce. Once the market shifts, companies that don't compete on price simply disappear. If you cannot market yourself as a luxury and justify an inflated price tag, then you have to compete for those customers who make decisions based on the price tag. The middle line is becoming increasingly sparse, and that means competing with the likes of Shein and Temu. And so we end up in a world where cheap becomes the default, where quality becomes a luxury, where durability becomes niche, where customer service becomes optional, where companies optimize for volume, not value, where the business model is not make something good, but make something cheap enough that people won't complain. This is the economics of disposability. Products are not designed to last. They're designed to be replaced. And the cheaper they are, the faster we replace them. It's a cycle that benefits companies and punishes consumers, especially those with the least money. But the final reason we are obsessed with cheap things is the simplest. We are tired. Tired of shrinking wages and shrinkflation. Tired of feeling like everything costs more than it should. Cheap things feel like a small victory in a world where everything else feels like a loss. They give us a sense of control, even if it's an illusion. Companies like Shein, Temu, Primark, and Ryanair understand this perfectly. They don't sell products, they sell relief. Relief from high prices, relief from economic anxiety, relief from feeling that everything is getting more expensive except your paycheck. And that is why we keep buying. Cheap things are not just cheap. They are emotional, they are psychological, they are a coping mechanism. And until the underlying economic pressures change, until people feel financially secure, the demand for ultra-cheap products will only grow. Because in a world where everything feels expensive, cheap feels like freedom. Thanks so much for watching Rebel Economics. I'd be super interested to hear your opinions about this topic, so drop a comment and let me know. And check out one of my other videos, and see you again here on Rebel Economics.